There is a very specific moment in almost every relationship when the balance of power shifts quietly, and most men never notice it while it is happening. It does not occur during a loud fight. It does not appear when messages slow down or when distance becomes obvious. It happens in a single sentence, spoken so casually that it feels harmless. 4 words. Just four. 4 simple words that seem ordinary but slowly rewrite the entire emotional structure between you and her. The moment you hear them without understanding what they actually signal, you step into a dynamic you did not realize you were entering. I am going to explain the 4 words women often use when they decide to change the emotional frame of the relationship. More importantly, I will explain how to respond when you hear them so you do not lose your footing. Once you understand what is really being communicated beneath the surface, you stop being surprised and start moving with confidence and stability. Most men think influence is loud. They picture arguments, control, deception, or obvious manipulation. In real life, real influence is quiet. It does not announce itself. It hides behind politeness, calm tones, and reasonable language. That is why it works so well. You are not defending yourself because nothing feels aggressive. You are accepting something that feels normal, even kind. Think back to the last time you felt uneasy in a relationship. Not angry, not deeply hurt, just uneasy. Nothing clear was wrong, yet something felt misaligned. You started doubting yourself. You wondered if you were overthinking or imagining things. That feeling was not accidental. It appears when reality is slowly reshaped through language so subtle that you cannot track where your certainty disappeared. Women do not need force to influence men. They rely on uncertainty. The 4 words explained here are powerful because each one introduces just enough doubt to make you adjust your behavior while allowing full denial if you ever point it out. Nothing is openly stated, yet everything shifts. The first word is complicated. When a woman says her situation is complicated, most men hear a reasonable explanation. They assume she is dealing with real issues that need patience. What is actually happening is different. She is creating time and keeping options open while holding your emotional attention. Complicated works because it protects her freedom while securing your investment. That single word is vague enough that you cannot challenge it, serious enough that you feel guilty asking questions, and flexible enough to change meaning whenever needed. Imagine a man meets a woman and they connect strongly. Weeks pass. Emotions build. When he finally asks where things are going, she responds warmly and says she really likes him, but her situation is complicated right now. Most men immediately switch into understanding mode. They think about work stress, family issues, past relationships. They decide to be patient and supportive. What they miss is that complicated is rarely about circumstances. It is about boundaries. It tests how long you will wait without clarity, how much uncertainty you will accept, and how easily you will put your needs aside. From her point of view, this is not cruelty. It is strategy. She keeps her freedom while keeping your emotional presence. She receives attention, care, and focus without offering commitment. Psychology makes this very effective. The human mind hates unfinished stories. Open situations demand more mental energy than resolved ones. Complicated keeps you thinking, hopping, analyzing, and waiting for resolution. You stay engaged because you believe clarity will come later. The reality is simple. When a woman truly wants to be with you, her life becomes clearer, not more confusing. Decisions get easier. Priorities become sharper. Obstacles are addressed instead of highlighted. Complicated appears when someone wants the comfort of choice without making one. The response is not to argue or prove patience. You do not try to simplify her life. You simplify yours. You acknowledge her words and step back completely. You reduce availability. You stop investing where clarity is missing. This removes the benefit of keeping you emotionally involved without commitment. Suddenly, the uncertainty must resolve or she must accept your absence. Most women are used to men who wait inside uncertainty. When you refuse to do that, clarity is forced without pressure. Someone cannot keep you on hold when you are no longer standing by. The second word is space. Few words have quietly ended more relationships than this one. On the surface, it sounds mature and healthy. Everyone needs space sometimes. In practice, when a woman asks for space, she is often creating distance without responsibility. She steps back while you feel required to respect and support that distance. Space is not about moving closer. It is about creating room. Sometimes that room is for another option. Sometimes it is for emotional comfort without obligation. Sometimes it is for uncertainty. Whatever the reason, the meaning is consistent. She wants less of you without fully letting go. Picture the situation. The relationship feels steady. Communication is consistent. Then she says she needs space to think. You agree, you pull back, you wait. During that time, she moves freely while you remain emotionally connected. She experiences freedom. You experience suspension. That is the imbalance. She gains options. You gain uncertainty. She explores. You hope. The power shifts because commitment exists on only one side. Psychologically, distance comforts the person creating it and creates anxiety in the person waiting. Space does not strengthen connection. It creates unequal footing. Often, the request for space comes after something already shifted. Maybe you became too available. Maybe the excitement faded. Maybe your presence became predictable. Asking for space resets the dynamic without explanation. Most men reinforce it by being overly cooperative. The correct response is calm and firm. You allow the space and then create even more of it. You stop initiating. You redirect focus to your own life. This is not punishment. It is balance. When she realizes you are not waiting, the comfort of distance turns into uncertainty. Uncertainty is what draws people back. Space only controls you if you stay inside it. The moment you fully step away, its influence disappears. The third word is whatever. It sounds harmless, even agreeable, but it is calculated. Whatever shuts down discussion while appearing cooperative. It ends the conversation without solving anything and slowly teaches you to stop sharing preferences. Here is how it plays out. You suggest something or make a decision. She disagrees internally but does not express it clearly. She responds with whatever you want, said with a certain tone. You think she agreed. What really happened is passive compliance. If things go well, she seems supportive. If things go poorly, she becomes the one who went along reluctantly. Responsibility stays with you. Emotional leverage stays with her. Over time, this creates confusion and quiet resentment. Whatever is not about the moment. It creates a pattern where you stop deciding because the emotional cost becomes too high. Gradually, you defer more and lead less. Control shifts without a direct confrontation. The response is clarity. You do not move forward on unclear agreement. You pause and require direct communication. You make it clear that vague acceptance is not real acceptance. This removes the ability to rewrite the story later. You are responsible for clear choices, not for unspoken dissatisfaction. The fourth word is fine. This one is the most dangerous because it pretends to end conflict. Fine sounds peaceful, but it is stored tension. It means acceptance without closure. When fine is said after disagreement, most men relax. They believe the issue is finished. It is not. Fine is recorded mentally and saved for later. It becomes proof in a future story about not being understood or valued. Men often see conflict as separate events. Women often see them as connected patterns. Fine ends discomfort in the moment while preserving emotional memory for later use. That is why old problems suddenly return. Fine was never resolution. It was delay. Over time, fine teaches you to avoid disagreement altogether. You begin to give in early to avoid outcomes you cannot predict. The goal is not to win arguments. The goal is to make you hesitant to disagree. The correct response is to refuse false closure. You do not accept unclear endings. Real resolution feels mutual and calm. Fine feels unsettled because it is. When you stop accepting it, the past loses its ability to be rewritten. Now look at the pattern as a whole. Complicated space, whatever, fine. None of these words mean what they appear to mean. Complicated is not about life problems. Space is not about growth. Whatever is not agreement. Fine is not peace. Each one quietly shifts emotional control. Most women who use these words are not deliberately manipulative. These habits develop through experience and observation. Intent does not change impact. The result is always the same. You adjust. You guess. You carry responsibility for feelings that were never clearly expressed. These words work because they activate male instincts to fix, tolerate, and move forward. Those instincts feel mature, but they hand over control. When you recognize the pattern and reject ambiguity, the dynamic changes. You stop responding to hidden framing and start requiring clarity. You stop translating coded language. This does not make you difficult. It makes you stable. Uncertainty cannot survive where clarity is required. Complicated fades when simplicity is demanded. Space loses control when you create more of it. Whatever fails when you refuse to guess. Fine disappears when real closure is required. This is not about winning small moments. It is about living in relationships without decoding indirect language. That comes from standards, not arguments. When you stop accepting unclear communication, the relationship either improves or ends. Some men fear this will end the relationship. Sometimes it does. But a connection that survives only through tolerated confusion is not real. The moment you are willing to walk away from what lacks honesty, you create space for something genuine. You can now see the pattern clearly. 4 common words hiding in everyday conversation, quietly shaping emotional dynamics. Understanding matters only if applied. The next time these words appear, you will recognize what is happening and choose clarity over confusion. You cannot control what someone says. You control what you accept. The moment you stop accepting unclear communication is the moment words lose their power over you.